Welcome to a night in with Feast. Gather around as we pile our plates high with fresh, vibrant ingredients and learn a simple and delicious recipe to share at home. Be sure to send us your questions. And use hashtag FeastNightIn on social to share your photos with the Feast community. We want to hear from you. Please make a donation by sending a text FEAST to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link on the YouTube screen or by visiting feastforall.org/night in 2021. Thank you for joining us in support of Feast's mission to promote wellness and enrich lives through the power of healthy food and human connection.
I'm the group leader. I am running the Feast classes all around New York City in partnership with Wellness in the Schools. It's an educational program that we bring to school communities to reach out to parents, to engage them in healthy eating, to educate them on nutritional facts, to give them some culinary lessons, and to build community.
So this program has been something that brings all of us together. We talk about the things that we would never share, but now, we have this space where we all can come out and talk to each other.
This is our second year, and we've had returning students from last year. By the end of that first year, we were a family.
I really believe in the power of community and connection and how that just expands and creates a sense of wellness and connection and support.
I think the impact is very strong. I see it, the ripple effect happening all over the place. I see how it's impacting the way people are sort of feeding their families and just responding to the world that we have to all struggle to navigate in terms of feeding ourselves well.
Welcome to a night in with Feast. Gather around as we pile our plates high with fresh, vibrant ingredients and learn a simple and delicious recipe to share at home. Be sure to send us your questions. And use hashtag FeastNightIn on social to share your photos with the Feast community. We want to hear from you. Please make a donation by sending a text FEAST to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link on the YouTube screen or by visiting feastforall.org/night in 2021. Thank you for joining us in support of Feast's mission to promote wellness and enrich lives through the power of healthy food and human connection.
I'm the group leader. I am running the Feast classes all around New York City in partnership with Wellness in the Schools. It's an educational program that we bring to school communities to reach out to parents, to engage them in healthy eating, to educate them on nutritional facts, to give them some culinary lessons, and to build community.
So this program has been something that brings all of us together. We talk about the things that we would never share, but now, we have this space where we all can come out and talk to each other.
This is our second year, and we've had returning students from last year. By the end of that first year, we were a family.
I really believe in the power of community community and connection, and how that just expands and creates a sense of wellness and connection and support.
I think the impact is very strong. I see it, the ripple effect happening all over the place. I see how it's impacting the way people are sort of feeding their families and just responding to the world that we have to all struggle to navigate in terms of feeding ourselves well.
Welcome to a night in with Feast. Gather around as we pile our plates high with fresh, vibrant ingredients and learn a simple and delicious recipe to share at home. Be sure to send us your questions. And use hashtag FeastNightIn on social to share your photos with the Feast community. We want to hear from you. Please make a donation by sending a text FEAST to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link on the YouTube screen or by visiting feastforall.org/night in 2021. Thank you for joining us in support of Feast's mission to promote wellness and enrich lives through the power of healthy food and human connection.
I'm the group leader. I am running the Feast classes all around New York City in partnership with Wellness in the Schools. It's an educational program that we bring to school communities to reach out to parents, to engage them in healthy eating, to educate them on nutritional facts, to give them some culinary lessons, and to build community.
So this program has been something that brings all of us together. We talk about the things that we would never share, but now, we have this space where we all can come out and talk to each other.
This is our second year, and we've had returning students from last year. By the end of that first year, we were a family.
I really believe in the power of community and connection, and how that just expands and creates a sense of wellness and connection and support.
I think the impact is very strong. I see it, the ripple effect happening all over the place. I see how it's impacting the way people are sort of feeding their families and just responding to the world that we have to all struggle to navigate in terms of feeding ourselves well.
Welcome to a night in with Feast. Gather around as we pile our plates high with fresh, vibrant ingredients and learn a simple and delicious recipe to share at home. Be sure to send us your questions. And use hashtag FeastNightIn on social to share your photos with the Feast community. We want to hear from you. Please make a donation by sending a text FEAST to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link on the YouTube screen or by visiting feastforall.org/night in 2021. Thank you for joining us in support of Feast's mission to promote wellness and enrich lives through the power of healthy food and human connection.
I'm the group leader. I am running the feast classes all around New York City in partnership with Wellness in the Schools. It's an educational program that we bring to school communities to reach out to parents, to engage them in healthy eating, to educate them on nutritional facts, to give them some culinary lessons, and to build community.
So this program has been something that brings all of us together. We talk about the things that we would never share. But now, we have this space where we all can come out and talk to each other.
This is our second year, and we've had returning students from last year. By the end of that first year, we were a family.
I really believe in the power of community and connection, and how that just expands and creates a sense of wellness and connection and support.
I think the impact is very strong. I see the ripple effect happening all over the place. I see how it's impacting the way people are sort of feeding their families and just responding to the world that we have to all struggle to navigate in terms of feeding ourselves well.
Welcome to A Night In with Feast. Gather around as we pile our plates high with fresh, vibrant ingredients and learn a simple and delicious recipe to share at home. Be sure to send us your questions. And use #FeastNightIn on social to share your photos with the Feast community. We want to hear from you. Please make a donation by sending a text, FEAST, to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link on the YouTube screen or by visiting feastforall.org/night in 2021. Thank you for joining us in support of Feast's mission. Welcome to A Night In with Feast. Gather around as we pile our plates high with fresh, vibrant ingredients and learn a simple and delicious recipe to share at home. Be sure to send us your questions. And use #FeastNightIn on social to share your photos with the Feast community. We want to hear from you. Please make a donation by sending a text, FEAST, to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link on the YouTube screen or by visiting feastforall.org/night in 2021. Thank you for joining us in support of Feast's mission to promote wellness and enrich lives through the power of healthy food and human connection.
I'm the group leader. I am running the feast classes all around New York City in partnership with Wellness in the Schools. It's an educational program that we bring to school communities to reach out to parents, to engage them in healthy eating, to educate them on nutritional facts, to give them some culinary lessons, and to build community.
So this program has been something that brings all of us together. We talk about the things that we would never share. But now, we have this space where we all can come out and talk to each other.
This is our second year, and we've had returning students from last year. By the end of that first year, we were a family.
I really believe in the power of community and connection, and how that just expands and creates a sense of wellness and connection and support.
I think the impact is very strong. I see the ripple effect happening all over the place. I see how it's impacting the way people are sort of feeding their families and just responding to the world that we have to all struggle to navigate in terms of feeding ourselves well.
Welcome to a night in with Feast. Gather around as we pile our plates high with fresh, vibrant ingredients and learn a simple and delicious recipe to share at home. Be sure to send us your questions. And use hashtag FeastNightIn on social to share your photos with the Feast community. We want to hear from you. Please make a donation by sending a text FEAST to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link on the YouTube screen or by visiting feastforall.org/night in 2021. Thank you for joining us in support of Feast's mission to promote wellness and enrich lives through the power of healthy food and human connection.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dana Rizer, and I have the privilege of serving as Feast Executive Director. We're so glad that you chose to join us for this very special night in. We have a really tremendous show for you in store. And as we begin, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about who Feast is. Feast was founded in 2013 with a mission to promote wellness and enrich lives through the power of healthy food and human connection. It's important to note that wellness is not just the absence of disease. Instead, it points to a state of optimal physical, mental, and emotional health. So in other words, Feast's mission is not just to provide individuals with the ingredients they need to survive. Our commitment is to provide individuals with the ingredients we all need to thrive, which is why our 16-week wellness programs combine food education with access to nutritious food and social and emotional support together, ensuring that individuals have what they need to navigate an unhealthy and inequitable food environment in a healthier way, make measurable changes to their diet and lifestyle, and dramatically change their physical and emotional health. As we serve parents and caretakers in our group meetings, the lessons and skills they learn trickle down to their entire household, supporting them now and for generations to come. While our programs have always made a difference, there's never been a more important time to achieve our mission than today. Over the past year, the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated and exacerbated the same issues that our organization was founded to combat all along. You see, it's long been the case that people living with limited resources and on low incomes have experienced disproportionate rates of dietary diseases, shortened lifespans, and decreased quality of life. And this is due in part to the fact that we live in an inadequate food system, in which the most affordable food available to families is often the most processed and the least nutritious. And because we're all under the influence of messages from massive food companies that value profit over individual health. It's because of this that over the last several decades, we've seen rates of obesity and diabetes skyrocket across our nation. However, those rates are 10% higher for those who are living in poverty. Throughout the pandemic, the prevalence of these pre-existing conditions was one of the core contributors that led to a COVID-19 mortality rate that was 9 times higher in the communities Feast serves than in more affluent neighborhoods nearby. So this is why we are gathered here tonight, to face these challenges head on, to stand with our communities hand in hand, to create a seat at our shared table, and to ensure that anyone who wants to improve their overall health and well-being is able to feast with us. So coming up, to give you a taste of what's in store for this evening, we have a video message from In-Q. He's an award-winning poet, a multi-platinum songwriter, and a best-selling author. In-Q's groundbreaking achievements also include being named as one of Oprah's Super Soul 100 list of the top most influential thought leaders. He's also one of the first spoken word poets to perform with Cirque du Soleil. He's been featured on A&E, ESPN, and on HBO's Deaf Poetry Jam. He's also going to be performing live for us later tonight. So here he is, In-Q.
Look closer. Behind every stranger is a person. The stories are different, but the journey is the same. We're too caught up on the places or the faces or the names. And when you focus on the differences, it's easier to blame. Because it's hard to see the picture when you're hung up on the frame. America's a work of art because of struggle and pain. From the crowded city streets to the Rocky Mountain plains, our country is alive, and the spirit still remains. So the highways twist and turn across the map like they were veins, connecting us together even when we can't agree. Because our common ground is that we have the freedom to be free. To take responsibility for who we choose to be, to find a compromise between the things that we believe. Because despite our disagreements and the ways we've all felt, if you stop and look close enough, you might just see yourself.
So now, I'd like to invite you to look closer at the Families Feast serves. It's my honor to introduce you to one of our program graduates, Gwendolyn Malone, who's going to share a bit about what Feast has meant in her life.
Why did I eat fast food? Because I didn't know no better. But when you know better, you can do better. Eating at home versus eating out, it makes a difference. Fast food versus home-cooked food, a big difference. My name is Gwendolyn Malone. I live with my husband, and we have a son. I love cooking for my family. Feast taught me about cooking. I learned it can be fun. When you cook and you see others enjoying what you cook, that makes you happy. Feast is a community. It is built on people coming together in a healthy manner, helping people to focus on healthy living. That's great. Just to be able to have conversation within the community. That's beautiful.
Thanks for sharing your story, Gwen. My name is Amy Vu, and I'm the Director of Programs at Feast. I had the pleasure of leading Gwen's group at a Kaiser Permanente in South Los Angeles. And over the course of 16 weeks, I watched Gwen, along with 12 other individuals in the group, create this community of support where we learned about healthy eating, shared our personal stories around food, and celebrated successes whenever a group member met their goal. We're so proud of our graduates like Gwen, who continue to make changes for themselves and their family members. As Gwen said, when you know better, you can do better. Thanks, Gwen, for opening yourself up to this world of fresh new flavors and for continuing to share what you've learned with others around you. These transformative programs are only possible with your support. Please make a donation by sending a text FEAST to 707070 and shop our silent auction by clicking the link below or heading to our website feastforall.org/nightin2021. Now it is my pleasure to welcome our next very special guest, Chef Tom Colicchio. Chef Colicchio has been a part of Feast's growth since the very beginning. More recently, his team at Crafted Hospitality became a core partner as Feast programs expanded beyond South Los Angeles, throughout schools in New York City. Chef Colicchio is not only an exceptional chef and restaurateur, he's an outspoken advocate for improving food systems through meaningful action and policy change. We are honored to have him here as our guest tonight. Accompanying Chef Colicchio is Chef Behzad Jamshidi, another incredible ally for Feast. He will be fielding your questions tonight throughout the cooking demonstration. So without further ado, let's join them in the kitchen.
And I'm super excited to be joining all of you tonight. I'm incredibly excited to introduce Chef Tom Colicchio. He's not just an advocate in the food world for us in terms of policy and getting closer to our farmers, but he's been a really close friend of mine, and this is kind of the first time we end up on camera together. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Chef Tom Colicchio.
Hey, Behzad, how you doing?
Hey, I'm great, Chef. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. You always look better in the kitchen, eh, Chef?
Well, of course. It's where we belong, right?
It's our favorite backdrop.
Exactly. You know, I was listening to both of the intros, and there's two words that really struck me that I heard. And one was knowledge, and the other one was freedom. And how does this relate to cooking? Well, when you have the knowledge in terms of what you can cook, what you can purchase, how to purchase economically, how to make the best of those ingredients, then you have the freedom to actually make those choices for you and for your family. And so this message goes together so well, especially with what I'm going to cook tonight, because for those out there that have the recipe and got a box, you can follow along. But as I was looking through the recipe a little while ago, I realized that you guys have more of a restaurant recipe, and I'm gonna pare that down a little bit. I'm still using the ingredients plus a few more that I actually just picked from the garden, and really just to make this a little easier. But also along the way, keep in mind that this isn't so much about the recipe that we're doing tonight, but again about the freedom to go out and do whatever you want. Because once you learn certain techniques that we're gonna go through tonight, you can apply this to any vegetable, okay, and make this dish with any vegetable. And so let's get started. In the box, I included ramps. Now, you know, the only reason I did this is because these are only around for a very short time in the spring. They're really special. If you can't get ramps, and most people can't for most of the year, substitute onions and garlic, because a ramp tastes pretty much like a cross between an onion and a garlic. So again, if you don't have ramps, you go to the supermarket, you're not going to find it. But you'll find onion, you'll find garlic. So that's the perfect substitution. Also, these are the very last ramps of the season. After this week, they're done. So I'll turn to garlic and onion as well. So I'm going to just right now focus on the bottoms. And you notice that I didn't make perfect cuts. I save that for the restaurant. When I cook at home, I'm not so worried. Neither is my family about whether or not my knife skills are perfect. In fact, for me, it's really just getting the food on the table. Besides doing the pasta recipe that my family is going to eat as soon as I'm finished, I also have some chicken roasting in the oven. So we're going to start with a little olive oil in the pan. I'm using this kind of heavy, it's a sautoir, I guess, of sorts. A regular saute pan is fine. It really doesn't matter. Now what I'm doing is, you notice that this isn't on crazy high heat. It's a nice medium heat. Everything's cooking nicely. I find that too often people tend to cook on high heat and it's way too high. Things start to burn. Things happen too quickly. So just take your time on the stove. There's no reason to rush through this. Just let that cook nicely. I have my water that I'm just going to turn up a little bit so it can start boiling. Now on the table I have peas, I have asparagus, I have some mushrooms. I also went in the garden and I picked some kale and some pea shoots. I also picked up some chives that were there. And so we're going to get this kind of.
Now, Chef, how much of what you do back home for your family is driven by, possibly what's more in season? Would you say all of your cooking happens that way? Some of your cooking?
I would say most of it. And obviously in the winter, it's kind of hard. But this time of the year, I'm focusing mostly on, right now, I'm out in North Fork and Long Island. And we have a lot of it's farm country out here. And there's a lot of farm stands. And so it's either I'm using my garden or the farm stands. But at this point, starting right about maybe 2 weeks from now, pretty much everything in terms of produce that I'll use will come out of the garden, out of my own garden.
It's amazing. You've always, whether it's been at River Park or elsewhere, you've always had a green thumb, which is really exciting.
Well, I try. We usually at River Park, we had a lot of help there. I added some mushrooms. Not all the mushrooms. I added some of the mushrooms. The reason being, so whenever you cook, right, and once your pan is hot, if I were to take all of the ramps and mushrooms and everything I'm cooking and dump it into the pot at one time, what happens is the temperature in the saute pan will drop.
It's going to drop.
Because when you're cooking, you're taking the heat that's in the pan and transferring it to the vegetables. If you overcrowd that pan too soon, the temperature drops, you'll end up with steam, you'll end up with a bunch of mush. And so you have to add a little at a time. So I added the ramps, and they started cooking. And I added some of my mushrooms, not all of them. And I'm waiting now. I'm actually listening, which is kind of neat. I figured this out a long time ago when I wrote my first cookbook. I was doing something very similar to this, and adding vegetables a little at a time to the pan. And the woman who was writing the recipes with me, she stopped and said, "What are you doing?" That's something.
And Chef, I have one question for you. Well, actually 2 parts. So the inspiration for the recipe, I'm gonna kind of assume that it's kind of driven by what you've had available to you right now in season, especially as asparagus has looked really good in the market. I'm also a big broccolini fan. I love throwing broccolini in the place of some green vegetables in pastas. What would you do in terms of like cleaning mushrooms and some of those produce that kind of come a little dirt cut?
Yeah. Now mushrooms, usually when they come from the supermarket, they're already pretty clean. They're not grown in dirt. So if you see a little bit of what looks like dirt on there, just brush it off. It's just the substrate that they actually grow the mushrooms in. You don't have to wash them. Don't put them under water or anything like that. If you're getting wild mushrooms, these aren't wild mushrooms. These are cultivated. If you are using wild mushrooms, sometimes they need to be cleaned. But you have to be as gentle as possible, and you don't want to submerge in water. Mushrooms are already about 90% water.
Yeah.
So now,
and also, I'd like to prompt in the chat if anybody at home has any ideas or inspirations for variations. I'll kind of get into what I did differently from Chef Tom's. I have a bowl of or a pot of pasta kind of set aside, but I kind of love to hear what some ideas are in terms of produce you'd look at and want to use in this recipe.
Okay. So now what I took my kale and my pea shoots and the ramp tops and just gave it a rough chop. Okay. So mushrooms are nicely browning now. You can see that. And again, I'm going to start adding the greens a little at a time.
And honestly, it's such a great way to consolidate vegetables and things that you may have inside the kitchen. It passes such an amazing vehicle to throw together a little dollop of butter and some good cheese,
Exactly.
and everything tastes well together.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to add the pasta to the water. The water is already salted. It was a little perfect. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more salt, though. Pasta's in the water. Okay. Now, I know in the recipe, there's, I'm going to put this on really low heat right now. Now I just want this to continue to simmer, but it's cooked at this point. So I just really want to keep it hot and warm, and very lightly, I'm going to add more of the greens. Okay. Now I know in the recipe it talks about blanching the asparagus and blanching the peas, and you probably want to blanch those before they go into the saute pan. But what I'm going to do, instead of using a separate pan to blanch them in, I'm going to wait till my pasta is almost cooked. And right maybe 2 or 3 minutes before the pasta is finished, I'm going to add the green vegetables to the pasta pot.
Yeah.
Right? I save myself a pot. I save
more bang for your buck.
Right. I do a dish with broccoli. You mentioned broccoli, Rob, broccolini, where it's pasta in the water. When it's about 6 or 7 minutes in, 8 minutes in, I add the broccolini. I let that cook. It finishes together. I drain it. I save some of the pasta water, put it back in, a little garlic, a little cheese, cracked pepper, done. The dish.
Yeah.
Really simple.
Yeah.
So pasta's cooking away. Okay.
Ooh, two other additions that actually came out through the audience: summer squash inside a recipe like this, and radicchio. I also especially love grilling radicchio for any reason, and fine chopping it in a chopped salad, folding it into a pilaf, putting it into a pasta. Salad lettuces can really find their way into pasta spaces. Less than people think.
Yeah, one of my favorite pasta dishes.
Shrimp, another great one.
Yeah, one of my favorite pasta dishes is radicchio. Just sauteed in olive oil with a little bit of garlic, and then the addition of black olives, and then toss the pasta. It's a great combination. But also zucchini, sure. Again, when zucchini starts coming out, I'll use it in pastas. Again, I would substitute. I would dice it up, roughly the same size as the peas, maybe. Just dice it up and just add it right to the saute pan and saute it. Add it in. If you have zucchini blossoms, you can add that to the pan as well. Absolutely. Pretty much anything goes. If you have carrots that you want to add to this, it goes. And the neat thing about pasta, I do this thing where I try to clean out my refrigerator on Fridays. I call it Fridge Friday. And usually all the leftover stuff, listen, if you open your refrigerator now, there's going to be some sorry looking carrots or something, the celery back there. I try to take all that stuff and make either a soup or a pasta with it. Pretty much exactly what I'm doing here. You're just sauteing vegetables, whatever vegetables they are. They're just cut into small pieces. You're sauteing them and then tossing it with pasta, and that's it. It's really that simple. There are, you said, no rules except cooking the pasta. But there is one little thing that I want to show everybody. As soon as the pasta is almost cooked, because it is the one thing that most people at home don't use, because most recipes don't teach you this. And we're going to use some of the starchy water that the pasta is cooked in. That's actually going to make the sauce, our version of a sauce. It's not going to be soupy. It's not going to be saucy. Good pasta, the sauce just needs to barely coat the pasta. That's it. But we're going to use that starchy water to help emulsify the butters and stuff and toss in with the pasta. That's something we'll do for the last second. So everything's cooking nicely. Again, you can see the overhead shot. This is looking nice. It's cooking very, very slowly. What I do want to add to this is some pepper, some black pepper.
Chef, do you have any preference on adding olive oil into pasta water as it's cooking or not?
Do not do that. Don't ever do that.
Okay. Why is that?
Very bad idea. What happens is there's going to be something that I'll show you. After the pasta is cooked, when it's almost finished, but it's al dente, it's cooked, we're going to actually put it back in the pot with a little bit of that pasta water and the vegetables and continue to cook it. And so you want the sauce or this vegetable, we'll call it a vegetable sauce, to marry with that pasta. You want
that starch brings it together.
You want the pasta to absorb that sauce. If you're doing tomato sauce, same thing. You want the pasta to absorb that. The Italians call it, I don't know the word, but it's called staining the pasta. If you put oil on the pasta first, it keeps it from absorbing. And
you get like a greasy, separated mix of pasta and vegetables.
Pasta's not going to stick together. If you strain it right away and you get it in the sauce and you mix it up and you serve it right away, it's not going to lump up. especially if you're stirring it, when you first put it in the pot. And typically the pastas like the pottery that we're using today really is not a problem sticking together. I mean, spaghetti sometimes can get stuck. But again, you don't have time. Once you strain the pasta, you've got to
it's straight to the pan and garnished and done.
You have time to mess around. If you're letting it sit in the pot, for 10 minutes, you're gonna have a problem. So I have some chives that I took out of the garden. I'm just gonna give that a quick chop, and there's a little bonus I'm gonna show you in a second. Because see, chives, they do flower. And they do make these beautiful little purple blossoms, right? But we're gonna use these because these have tons of flavor in them. So we're gonna take our chives. I'll just get rid of some of this stuff here.
I think it's so crazy what like a minimal home garden can really do for someone inside the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Having just enough space to put 3 different herbs in a plotter and in a corner of your balcony or off of your windowsill, I think the aptitude of what you're able to cook really goes through the roof.
Yeah. It's also really neat to teach kids, especially through gardening. Again, it can be a window box, just like where food comes from. The idea that you can plant a seed and it'll grow and you can get these herbs and you can get these vegetables, and it sort of connects you back to the earth a little bit, which is really important. Let's talk about Feast for a second, because my team does most of the heavy lifting, but this is an organization that my good friend Sam Polk started way back when, after watching my wife's film, A Place to the Table, and he was looking for a different life outside of being a trader on Wall Street, and he said the film really spoke to me. Realized that was his mission, to get affordable, healthy food to more people, and that's really what we're talking about. People say our food system is broken. Our food system is not broken. It works exactly the way it's intended to. That's the problem. Yeah. That's the problem. It's broken. It doesn't work for a lot of people because it only really works if you have the dollars to actually plug into eating healthy food. Inexpensive food, fast food is cheap, but it has a ton of calories, but not a lot of nutrition. And unfortunately, it's cheap because of the certain policies and practices that make that fast food burger cheap. And so, I can't fault people for getting a Happy Meal because it's inexpensive. And but learning about nutrition and learning how a few simple things at home. I love one of the first speakers who said cooking is fun. And so you realize that cooking is fun. But what cooking really does, it reclaims the food system back. You can reclaim it back. And you can say, I'm not going to actually buy into
this. This is my kitchen. This is how I buy for it. This is what I cook out of it.
Right. And you make it happen however you can. And, I find that, when I'm cooking night after night, especially during the pandemic, I was cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner for my family. You start saving things, leftovers the night before, next day they turn into an omelet. Our leftovers can end up in a pasta. And so I'm finding that I'm using as much as possible. My wife likes to joke around that I have the mentality of Depression era housewife, like nothing goes to me. But
it's in our culture though, right? Like we come from a space where when we cook inside the kitchen, when we have family meals with our chef patrons and our front of house patrons, we kind of use the mise en place that we've kind of acquired from other dishes. And for me, the family meal is kind of like the meat of the restaurant, The most exciting things are, taking 3 uncommon pieces of mise en place of prep and putting them together and making something so profoundly nutritious and delicious and is simple off of the most part. We spend most of our time cooking for customers, and then we spend a little bit of time kind of cooking for ourselves at home in the restaurant.
Right. Exactly. But, as chefs, we're trained not to waste food. If we waste food, it's dollars out the door. But the same thing, but it happens on such a small scale, you don't recognize it. You don't see it. The average household throws out between $1,500 to $1,800 worth of food a year. And so learning how to cook and learning how to use the refrigerator, learning how to use the freezer, you can reclaim all that. You could take it back and you can really start making a difference in your family's lives. And the idea of how Feast has become a community, because it's more than just food and recipes, it's really giving people the confidence. And once you have that confidence, you can solve one problem. There's a lot more that you can do. I'm surprised my dog hasn't started barking yet because she usually does. Okay, so let's get back to the pasta for a second. The pasta now is pretty much cooked. You can see I saved my water, some of the pasta water. I'm gonna come right back. I have to drain the pasta, so I'll be right back.
Beautiful. So we have a question here on what is mise en place. Chef, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, so the word means everything in place. And so it's a word that we use in professional kitchen to make sure all of your prep work is done. So when you start cooking actual dinner service, when you're cooking at night, all your prep is ready. So, an example of it at home was you saw my table over here. I had everything, sitting here, chopped, ready to go. God. You see what I did here? I'm talking. I forgot to blanch the vegetables. Oh, well. Okay, we'll fix that in a second. I'm yapping over here.
We're asking a lot of you, Chef. We're asking a lot.
No, but I'm going to fix this. So watch what I'm going to do. So this is great. So now I messed up there. I forgot to blanch the asparagus and the peas, but I did reserve my water, and so it's nice and hot. And so what I'm going to do is blanch them. I'll cook them right in this water. So my asparagus goes in, my peas go in. I'm going to take now. The pasta is right here. I'm going to add all of the vegetables and the mushrooms that I already cooked are going to go into the pasta.
And Chef, you don't, and like you said, I think at the top of making the dish, you don't let the pasta cool at all. You kind of want that heat to get into the pan as fast as possible.
Exactly. The chive blossoms and the chives. Yeah, the pasta doesn't cool down at all.
And then how do you decide your perfect pasta? Is there do you reserve certain shapes for meat dishes? Are there certain things that you use like a noodle for?
Yeah, yes and no. There's certain dishes that I want to use like more of a flat spaghetti type pasta, like a bolognese or something like that. But I don't, for me, a lot of those rules that you hear about,
it has to be this way, and you want to use fettuccine for an Alfredo.
Italy's a very funny place. There are certain places like, if you go to a Roman trattoria, you're not going to find tortellini or anything like that. That's made in the region. It doesn't come here. And so there's these rules about what goes with what. Yeah, it's okay. We can we can
move on from that.
So what I did, I'm blanching the asparagus, and I'm blanching my peas. I'm actually cooking. I'm blanching them. Now, what I did, I don't know if you saw this, I actually took the butter that I had and put it in there. So the butter now is with the pasta water, with the peas. So this is actually a very good way to do this. So it's a mistake that kind of is working right now for me. And then I do have some parsley here, and I'm just going to chop up.
And while Chef is just chopping up the last garnishes, just want to remind everyone that if you want to donate towards Feast, you can text Feast to 707070. And the live auction is up on their website as well. There is a bar and below that you can click on the link to see what things you can auction for.
Okay, so if you saw there, the peas and the asparagus were cooked. I took all that pasta water and the butter that was there and just added it right to here. So now we're going to let this continue to cook a little bit because there's a little bit of water in the bottom of this, pasta water. So we're going to let this continue to cook in here. I'm going to adjust some of the seasoning, add a little more salt to it. I'm going to add a little more pepper to it. I happen to love black pepper on pasta, so
likewise.
And then there's also some pecorino cheese that we're going to add to that as well. We give that a good stir. And
while you're doing that, I'm going to dish out my pasta as well.
Yeah. Now, the thing about this right now, if I'm looking in here, what I like about this bowl, what I like about this is, pasta dishes, it's really about the pasta and the vegetables are there, but it shouldn't be swimming in a sauce. And the Italians will say that if there's any sauce left in the bottom of the bowl, you over sauce your pasta. And so this is just coming together, and that pasta water is making like a kind of a rich, nice sauce on the bottom. And that's pretty much it. This is done. I'm going to just take it and put it in this bowl here. And so what you can see here is this creamy This is just from the pasta water, this little creamy stuff. There's a little bit of butter in there. There's no cream or anything, but you end up with this kind of almost kind of this rich, creamy sauce that you just made from the pasta water and the starch and then the butter and some of the vegetables. And that's pretty much it. Real simple pasta dish. Again, I like more pepper over the top. And that's pretty much it. So this is dinner for my family tonight.
Could you hold that up to the camera, Chef?
Oh yeah.
To the other one. Actually, the front-facing one. I don't think the other guy's on. Beautiful. And I'm just gonna garnish mine. I think we kind of landed in the same place.
Oh, look at that. Very nice.
That's what I did.
Very nice.
I found some really beautiful lamb sausages at the farmer's market. I also love adding mint into pastas in the summertime. Sometimes I'll even make like a mint pappardelle by blending the mint and the egg yolks together, just a little bit chefy. But anything that helps keep it fresh and light. Maybe a bolognese might not be nice for like a really warm summer night in New York City. I'm like currently sweating really bad in my Bushwick place, but it looks beautiful and such a great way to celebrate some fun ingredients.
Yeah, again, this is any best. Again, think of the process and the technique. And I'm a big fan of the process. I gotta pull a chicken out that's roasting. Here we go. When I was a kid and I started cooking at home, I was probably 13, 14. I really struggled getting through recipes. I had a hard time reading through them. And I think when I was around 15, my dad came home with a book, and he said he got it at the library where he worked. And so he came home, 3 or 4 different books, but one of them was Jacques Pepin's La Technique. And La Technique talked about techniques, not so much recipes. And once I learned that, it really just completely unlocked my ability to cook, because I didn't have to read a recipe anymore. I could focus on technique, like the technique that we use today, and then make anything. I had no idea what Jacques Pepin La Technique was doing in a county jail library, but that's where it was. My dad was a corrections officer in a county jail. And so the book happened to be in the library, and it completely changed my life. And but that's the whole point, is once you understand the process by doing this pasta, then any vegetable goes. So it could be carrots, zucchini, onion, garlic. It could be eggplant. It could be even tomatoes. When tomatoes are in season, a simple chop up, adding them to olive oil, a little garlic and onion, toss it real quick, toss the pasta, done. And so once you understand the process, you can pretty much do anything and make the recipe your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chef, I mean, the most exciting part is putting power back into the hands of the shopper. I think a huge part of how we talk about the commodity culture of eating healthy food and wellness, it's around tools with education. I'm constantly in this place where like I'll kind of create a Mediterranean ethos around the food that I serve inside my house, where it's a bunch of pickles and ferments and trims, and it's not necessarily about ingredients, but it's about techniques to kind of making things feel a little bit more holistic in my house. And then that money can money at any time saved has plenty of better places to go than being killed into overpriced ingredients. And the thing that Feast offers most is just educate and giving a platform for people to kind of build from there.
And the cool thing to do is get your kids involved too. My kids, every now and then they'll come around the stove and they'll want to see what I'm doing. But I make them, they set the table every night. The table's set behind me. They set the table every night. They clear the table. One of my sons enjoys gardening with me, so he's learning a little bit about food. But it's really important to get, again, your kids involved as well. If they learn at a very early age what nutrition is like, it'll last for their entire lives, which is really important. And, food has the power to heal. It has the power to give light. It has, again, the power to free you from this really oppressive food system that we're living in right now. And for so many people who are struggling to put healthy food on the table, let alone healthy food. And we all know that healthy food is more expensive. That's the problem right now that we have in this country. Calories are cheap, but nutrition is expensive. And so if you can produce nutritious foods for your family and save money and really understand how to stretch the dollar, boy, you can really unlock a lot of potential. So
and Chef, I'll prompt you with one last question. I know for myself, through high school, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and outside of being a chef, a huge part of the way that I navigate my life comes down to having the aptitude of cooking home cooked meals and being in control of my diet and what kind of goes in. What kind of vision do you have for, the health in your family or the health in your community?
Yeah, my brother has Crohn's, my younger brother, and my older brother had diabetes and completely changed his diet. And you don't get rid of it, but he has it under control. For me, it's about trying to teach my kids about healthy food. And I have one son who's really picky, who doesn't eat much at all. We're working on him.
That was me, for the record, when I was a kid. So there's still much hope.
Yeah, there is hope, but it's a tough one. But he's getting there. But when the mission that I have is really working, with the federal government to create programs that make sense. I mean, right now, I think one of the best things that we can do is to have free universal school lunch throughout the entire public school system, and then also make that food much higher quality. So for me, having a program by which breakfast and lunch is free, and then if you pair that with at least 30% of all of the produce that goes into that school lunch program locally has to come from a local farm. So now the farmers get a market to sell into, which is really great. You have healthier food. And I know someone's going to say, well, kids are in school mostly in the fall and winter. We're not, local farmers aren't producing unless you're in California. That's where you got to start using the freezer. Real effective. You can be very, very effective where if we had processing plants that process fresh vegetables rather than frozen that can be used in the school lunch program, I think we'll win. Plus, we need to have more cooks cooking from scratch in schools, so we can create more that way too. My mother ran a school cafeteria, so this is something really near and dear to me. And
that's amazing.
And so that's one policy I'd love to see. And also right now with the three-tiered system that we have in the public school system for breakfast and lunch, someone's keeping track of whether or not you have enough money, who gets free, who's reduced, who pays full, everything is subsidized. Well, a lot of dollars that should go to food go into actually spending the money to keep track of all of that, the admin of keeping all that, so we can get rid of the admin and just use more of those dollars for better food. That would be amazing.
And an ethos of that, I mean, and I encourage again everybody to text FEAST to 707070, and donate towards an organization that's trying to create again a different channel of the same ideas that we have, as we have in conversations, policies around creating access to those systems and improving kind of the infrastructure of how we actually get food to kids and how we get ingredients to families.
Now, and the great thing about FEAST is it was just very different than a lot of the work that I do on the federal level. It really goes into communities. It's one-on-one. It's, getting that person and getting them excited and really teaching more than just food, but life skills. And as we saw in some of the testimonies early on, it really becomes a family. And the time that I spent, I was in one of the graduating classes, and it was just amazing to see this entire group of people that kind of came through this class together, and now forever they have these resources of each other to fall back on. And so it's just an amazing program. I'm so proud of the work that FEAST is doing. So donate, spend some dollars, donate, and FEAST is doing some amazing stuff. We all just came through a very, very difficult year. Things are starting to look better, and hopefully we'll have these in-class classes again, and we'll start making a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Thank you so much, Chef. It's been exciting to finally get on camera after a long pandemic, and I'm excited to hopefully come by craft and cook more recipes and follow in with the great work that you're doing with FEAST.
Yeah, I'm there cooking 4 nights a week right now. We opened up a new restaurant, a little trattoria next door to Craft in our private dining room, and I'm back there, cooking most nights. So come on by, love to see it.
Sweet. I'd love to put an apron on. You know how it works. No, we don't sit down for each other's meals. We get in the kitchen.
That sounds great because we are so short-staffed right now. I make it.
I have my sleeves rolled up. We'll wash dishes.
Awesome.
So, Chef, I want to thank you again. This is the part where we say goodbye to Chef Tom Colicchio. And now we're going to move on to introduce Talia, who's an incredible community leader that works on behalf of FEAST, kind of curating groups within her own community to help bring together people to instigate them socially, emotionally, and to create groups where people can empower each other and help lend tools and knowledge for support. So now on to Talia's video.
The first time I became a mom was It was really overwhelming, and as much as I was so blessed to see that little baby in my arms, I lost myself as a woman, and I didn't know who I was. And it's something that I realized in our communities, we don't really talk about things like this, you know, like mental health. I remember the sharing circuit, and it was the first time I had ever talked about it. It was very overwhelming, but it was so relieving because I understood that it had never healed because I had never talked about it. That I realized that I had to love me. I see a lot of healing, and it happens only in a safe place, like in feast, in the sharing circle, and how symbolical it is, that circle. And I always tell participants, nobody's in front of you, nobody's behind you. We are side by side. When we realize that joining together is what's gonna make this world better, we are human beings, and what we really want is to have and deserve is a dignity and healthy life here.
You know, I think a huge element of this that's so important, and honestly, from the perspective of anyone that's getting involved inside the kitchen, I think more or less families face a lot of the similar challenges than we kind of led on that we think the next household would have to navigate through. You know, it's that little bit of advice on how to shop. You know, the quirk of using sausage inside of a recipe as a substitute for a meat. There are so many different ways to kind of inch towards creating something more holistic out of your lifestyle, something that makes your family excited, that can include your kids inside the kitchen. But I think conversations are kind of where we land best. It's this practical experience that everyone's having because we're kind of working our best to support our families and put something nutritious in front of the table. And, Feast is incredible in being able to kind of give a platform and the first tools that people have, and more or less the method in which for them to educate themselves and really build a stronger economy out of their household and how they spend and shop, but even going farther than that and educating their communities as Talia does. So it's incredible work, and it's amazing to see these videos and prompts of how it's making an impact in our communities. So with that said, thank you again to Talia. This is the part where I sign off. It's been a pleasure to support Feast. And increasingly excited at more programs and things to come. Now I'm going to introduce InQ, incredible spoken word artist who I'm passing the torch off to, and he has a performance very special for all of you guys. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to at least feel you digitally, even if I can't see you. Everything so far was really incredible to witness. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you to Feast and to everyone behind the scenes for making this possible. I'm going to do a piece, and it's called Superpowers. We are all mirrors, co-designers of this human experience. So this is not my voice that you're hearing, it is ours. I'm here as a reflection to remind you of your inner power. In my next life, I'll be a sunflower. See, we belong to the world. It's not the other way around. But it's hard to keep your head inside the clouds and your feet on solid ground. The stimulus is infinite, in and out. It's easy to forget what life is all about. What is life all about? If all that counts is the money in our bank accounts, happiness cannot be found by having an amount. It's what we do that counts. It's who we are to the people that we care about. It's who we are to the people we don't care about. Because anyone could be someone we could care about. What if humanity had grown up in your parents' house? What if everyone you see is family? Think about how much you love the people that you love and love the people with the same capacity. Compassion is an action. And actually, so is atrophy. It takes as much effort to create as it takes to pass my time passively. Yesterday is the future. Tomorrow is the past. This moment is an instant. It's over in a flash. Our bodies turn to ash, recycled by the dirt. The only thing that really lasts is the energy on Earth. When I think of superheroes, I think of superhuman. I think of Superman, Black Panther, and Wonder Woman. Usually they have a cape or a mask to hide their face. They have X-ray vision and superhuman strength. Some can even breathe in outer space. They fly around a while, but they always come back to keep our cities safe. They're here to save humanity from itself. It's a metaphor for how we look outside ourselves for help. And while the fantasies are fun, I choose to look to me and you. Yeah, we love superheroes, but we have superpowers too. I mean, it starts with being open to this moment. If you do, then you can own it. Besides, it'll be gone before you know it, so don't blow it. You owe it to this second of eternity to show up, embrace the possibilities, and slow up. Take a breath. Look around. See the sights, hear the sounds, feel the ground. Notice how the gravity is holding you down. You could be anywhere in the world, and yet you're here. When you embrace it as your own, you can overcome any fear. And real courage is looking into the mirror. It's deciding what you want to do, then making it appear. It's creating out of thin air. You must be doing something right if you got scared. Otherwise, you wouldn't care. It's a process to get here to there. We're on the journey and we're learning, but building muscle means you're going to feel some burning. So don't deny it, simplify it, try it. See if it can work for you. Change perspective to get a different view. And don't forget, you got to laugh at the truth. Because sometimes a sense of humor is the only thing that pulls us through. It's medicine if we can let it in. An attitude of gratitude will bubble up from within. So even when the storm clouds block the blue from your sky, you'll remember that the sun is waiting for you on the other side. And giving back is something we must decide. From the lows to the highs, it's all a part of the ride. I can throw my hands up, or I can hold on for dear life. But I'd rather live once than have to go to hell twice. Compassion is my passion. Empathy is a gift, but my growth is incremental as my consciousness shifts. So I create from the abyss, turning my pain into gold. I'm an alchemist, an optimist, and an authentic soul. I believe that life is good, even when it hurts to see. I believe in superpowers. I believe in you and me. I believe in superheroes, but I don't look for them above because they exist inside us all. And we save the day with love. Thank you so much for listening to the poem. Once again, my name is NQ. I just would like to remind you guys before passing it off to Christina that what you're doing here is making a real difference for real people in the real world. And so I would like you to encourage yourself and the people around you to give as much as you can, because the impact is real. And with that, thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night, and I'm going to pass it off to Christina.
Amazing, NQ. Thank you so much for those inspiring words and for your support here tonight. At Feast, we believe in the power of we. And with compassion, empathy, and gratitude, we can all be superheroes too. Good evening, everyone. I'm Christina Ford, and I'm the chair of the board of directors here at Feast. I'm also a psychiatrist and a mother, and I know firsthand the important connection between nutrition and mental health. What we eat, how we eat, the people we're surrounded by, and the information we have access to all have a direct and lasting impact on our mental and emotional health. And this has been made even more clear during the recent pandemic. It's simply not right that so many people in our own shared communities lack access to the ingredients for a well-balanced and nourishing lifestyle. We realize this has been a very challenging year for everyone. If you are able, please help us out tonight. Make a contribution to help us do the work that we do to make sure that all families have access to the ingredients for a nourishing and well-balanced life. Please text FEAST, capital F-E-A-S-T, to the number 707070. So again, that's texting FEAST to the number 707070. You can also join the silent auction by clicking the link below or by going to feastforall.org/nightin2021. Please feel free to share that link broadly. As we draw this evening to a close, we encourage you to keep the conversation going with the people around you and at your own dinner table this evening, and you may use the cards that are included in your meal kit. Once again, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors for your support this evening, and most importantly to each of you for joining us tonight. We simply cannot do the work we do without you. Have a great evening.